90 Day Fiance, Love is Blind, 1,000 Pound Sisters. I feel about these reality TV shows, and I've never seen them again. I am incredibly riveted. So, as I mentioned last week, Mari has been listening to the podcast, right?
Hi, Mari.
Oh, no. Hi, Mari.
Oh yeah, first of all, hi Mari.
Cracking
Welcome
open
to
a
this
cold
week's
one
episode.
for you. It's a
I don't
seltzer.
think... Whoa.
It's a seltzer. The pride you said that with. It's a seltzer.
I thought initially you were saying Mari was cracking open a cold one. I was like, I don't really think so.
No, just me.
Mari only cracks open cold ones when specifically listening to the podcast.
So true. Everyone knows Mari's just like loads up the podcast, takes a couple shots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's
who
basically
doesn't?
how I do it. Yeah.
Who doesn't? How could you listen to this thing sober? But anyway, it gives me an insight into, you know how, like, first of all, you know how, like, accountability works and whatnot?
Yeah, of course.
But also, nothing like remembering things you said, like, 3 years ago, but not in, like, a bad way. It's not like I've ever said anything insanely bad on the podcast, but there's nothing like somebody listening to be like, remember when you said this? And I'm just like, No. And not because I don't care, because I just don't. Because unfortunately I say a lot.
Yeah, no, I have even like I get that because I chat with Kenzie and Sam pretty regularly, and they both listen, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you mentioned this on the podcast last week," and I'm like, I did what?
I did? But that's like anyway, I bring this up because right before we started recording, I had made a reference to an old running gag of Noah saying a certain word that we've dropped the gag
at his request,
and he never said it. But when I brought that up earlier, it just reminded me.
I do kind of miss some of our older bits like that. Like I miss Jackson's Beer Corner. We haven't had a Jackson's Beer Corner in like multiple years
I
now.
don't really drink a lot of beer these days, except for this day.
Fair. Except for
when
today.
I've had more
This
beers
day?
than I've had this day.
Damn, I can't believe
On today
it's
of
Jackson's
all
Beer
days.
Corner.
Why it's
Jackson's
Christmas
Beer
Day.
Corner's birthday.
Jackson's Beer's Day.
I tell you, go to the market and buy the... Do they still have that big goose down at the market? Here, take this gold coin. Christmas Day. Give it to the Cratchit family.
I gotta say, if I were that kid, there's no way I would be coming back.
I'd be like, who the hell is the Cratchit family?
I'm that man.
Thanks
just
for the
gave
gold
me-
coin, bozo.
Yeah, exactly.
Rip bozo, but I don't know the Cratchit family.
R.I.P. to the Cratchit.
Can you imagine that, though? If you're, like, walking downtown and someone's like, hey, boy, do they still have that big goose at the market? And you're like, yeah, I think so. Why? Hey, take this gold coin. Buy it for this guy. Like, what guy? They're like, the Cratchits. I'm like, okay.
The who's?
Like, if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, man, can you buy this for, like, the Maynard family? I'd be like, the who? Who's that? What am I supposed
I feel like this is one of those, like, in the olden times, everyone knew everybody. You see.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, not in a
no
city
way they
like
did.
London.
Yeah.
You can pull that if you're like talking about some pilgrim town in like bullshit coastal America. Sure,
That
there's
little
like
kid just
7
got a
families
gold
there.
coin and was like, hey, get a goose for the Cratchits.
Yeah, the only guy
Motherfucker,
that kid probably
Christmas
knows
spirit,
is the grumpiest
bitch. Do
man
it
in
yourself.
town.
Oh,
I'm sure he knows who Scrooge is.
Yeah, just take your own goddamn gold coin if you want to be so charitable and go buy the goose and give it to your employee to his goddamn face. Money doesn't fix
Coward.
everything, you bitch. Anyway.
I mean, for the Cratchits, it kind of would.
Yeah, but like,
Except for, like, Tiny
Not
Tim. It wouldn't
just
fix Tiny
money.
Tim, I guess. But
if you
besides
want to
that-
give the good gesture and the Christmas cheer, you got to do more than just write a check for $30.
I also do feel like the important part of
Hey,
that, like,
wait a minute. That was a big goose. That's at least 32.
It was the biggest goose.
It was the biggest goose.
It was a goose so big that this random child knew about it.
You know that gigantic goose? Oh, fuck yeah, man. I know the giant goose.
Everybody's been talking about the big old goose. Anyway,
I was gonna say, I feel like
before we got to the...
Go ahead.
I don't even... Yeah, because I went to a brewery earlier today. And then somehow I managed to spend on this Christmas... Why it's Christmas Day? Anyway, maybe that's because I went to the brewery too hard. Not really. I had 2 beers a long time ago. But I did go to a brewery today, and it was quite nice.
Nice.
Yeah, it was out in like a small town, and I don't know if you guys have ever run into these before, but I definitely have, and I think it was a lot more frequent in where I lived in Texas because Austin's a bit of a crunchy city. And anytime you have something like that, people really love a farm to market or farm to table restaurant.
Oh yeah. There's
And
nothing that people in a city like more than pretending they have like any sort of connection to the earth.
Yes, because God, it is unbearably soul crushing to feel like you have nothing but alienation with the literally like the products around you. Silicon means nothing to us, but it makes up so much of the world that we interface with.
I just want to throw it out there. Not that it matters. I disagree completely, but that's okay.
You disagree that people like farm to table stuff?
No, I disagree that like there's no like that I need to feel a connection to the earth around me.
Well, no one said you need to feel connected. We just said that people like it.
That I must have misheard. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, Dan, exception to the rule that proves the point. Continue.
Fair. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, people like to feel connected to the literal world around them. As a general rule, but farm to table restaurants exist because
of course.
you go there and they're like, "Here's where we get our eggs from." And a step beyond a farm to table restaurant is when the farm to table restaurant is out in the country.
That it's more legit when it's out.
Like when
that.
it's a 40-minute drive for city folk to get out to it, then it's
you know
really
it's real.
farm to table because you're like, the farm's closer.
Yeah, I say that all the time. I'm looking around and I'm like, damn, what a closer farm.
Yeah, you're like, if I was 40 minutes away from here, I'd be closer to the farm.
One
But
more step,
I went to this brewery that's a farm to table type restaurant combined with a brewery, and it's really, really nice. I was blown away by how like quality the building itself was. I got a Belgian golden strong ale, one of my favorites. And then
I love a Belgian ale.
I got a French toast blonde stout that was from a nitro tap, and I gotta say, it was delightful. Tasted a little bit like French toast.
I know we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but there's nothing that bums me out more than when a brewery is like IPA only. Because I know that was the
Yeah.
hot, cool thing.
Honestly, nothing bums me out like a brewery being a blank only.
Yeah, like kind of what's the point?
Like, I think it's out of Cleveland, or maybe not even out of Cleveland, but Left Hand is a big brewery that's fairly local but regional. And I think their gimmick is everything they do is nitro. I mean, there's probably some exceptions because it's just easier to not do nitro. But like their thing is that like they do nitro, and that's really cool. But if I'm having 3 beers somewhere, I don't want to have 3 of the same type of beer, whether it be a nitro stout or like an IPA. I don't really want to have. I'd rather you have a Belgian triple. You have like a good old fashioned lager, an amber ale. Like it's nice when like a brewery has a good variety of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got the Belgian strong ale. I like a Belgian most of the time. I've mentioned before, when I talked more about beer on the podcast, I like the Belgian yeast that they use.
There's just something nice about a Belgian.
It's like banana-y. There's a little funk to it. It's not banana. And it's one of those where like it's hard to describe beer to people who don't like it in the same way it's hard to describe coffee to the people who don't like it.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you'll be like, it's got like a
it's same with
a
wine.
cherry note to it, and people will be like, no, it just tastes like bitter dirt. And you're like, okay, well, come on, we got to interface with this a little bit.
Please meet me where I am.
You've got to as a Dan Giesling says, AWWA, appreciate where we're at. You just gotta. It doesn't matter if you like where we're at. Just try and appreciate where we're at.
One of the things I've been doing recently is I got a special gig at work where I'm doing wine tastings once every few weeks.
Whoa!
And every time people come up and they're like, "You got any sweet wine?" And I'm like, "Well, no, but these are all good wines." And they're like, "Okay." And I'm like, "This might be our sweetest." And they're like, "I want to try that one." And they point at like not a wine that I think they'll like. And they don't like it. And they're like, "This is bad wine." And they walk away. And it's like, okay, when I tell you that this has notes of peaches in the taste, it's not a peach wine.
It is not. It is a goddamn grape wine.
Yeah, it's still a Pinot Grigio, and it's going to taste like Pinot Grigio, but with notes of crisp apples and peaches, And I'm just, people are like, "Oh, it's red wine." And I'm like, "Yeah, you'll pick up notes of like dark fruits and cherry." And they're like, "It doesn't taste like cherries at all." And I'm like, "Yes,
it's because it's grapes, you goddamn idiot."
I did say notes.
It's
Crazy.
the cool part of the fermentation process that a grape starts to taste like anything that's not a grape. Maybe appreciate that.
I'm telling you, same goes with coffee, beer, anything that coffee, beer. I'll say weed, anything that has notes to it. People who don't enjoy the thing don't get the notes, and that's okay. But anybody can try and listen for those notes, hear for those. You taste those different little pops of flavor. You just have to understand you're not drinking cherry flavored coffee. You're drinking coffee that in the fermentation process picked up some notes that are similar to cherry in flavor, but you are still drinking coffee and you are still tasting coffee. You're still drinking wine and you are still tasting red wine. It just has some dark berry notes to it.
Yeah, that's why half the time it doesn't get specific. It says dark berry or red berry because it's
I've had some coffees before that are like when you go to like roast them, it says like, oh, if you go to like this part in the roast, it'll taste like red berry. I'm like, huh?
Right?
And then you
love
drink
that.
it, and
it's like,
sure enough,
it does taste like red berry, like trademark flavor in your head. Couldn't tell you what that tastes like, but I know it when I taste it.
It gets you, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I love stuff like that. It's a very cool process, and it's definitely, like you were saying, and something I'm sure Dan can agree with as one of this is kind of bitter dirt water people on the coffee spectrum. It is difficult to get into that headspace sometimes, huh?
It's one of those things of like, yes, asterisk. I've also drank enough things in my life that I can say, oh, wait a minute. I can put two brain cells together and be like, oh yeah,
Dan, that must be nice.
It sure is a note of this thing.
Yeah, because you're willing to meet it where it's at. You're like, yeah, I know it's going to taste like coffee. Let's see if I can taste the other things they say I'm supposed to taste.
Yeah, and if I don't like it, then it's okay. I just don't like coffee. It's not that I don't like your like vanilla latte or whatever the hell.
Okay, jackass.
Well,
actually,
vanilla
you don't like
latte
my
is
coffee.
so different from what we're talking about, but.
No, but like...
Well, it is, because that's literally vanilla syrup and milk added to the coffee to give it the taste of vanilla and milk.
I'm being derivative.
Dan's out here being derivative while we're out here being not derivative. The opposite of derivative. We're being so rivetive right now.
I am incredibly rivetive. One would even say I'm riveting.
I would say
like
that.
I'm making some goddamn jeans.
Just like clang, clang, clang. Look at those rivets over here.
Yeah,
Jackson's the rivet king.
They call
of the
me
rivet
Levi
city.
Strauss the way I'd be riveting.
I got nothing to go with that. That's like, you went to the top.
Anyway, I went to this brewery. And,
yeah, you went to a brewery.
It was pretty good. It was a nice location, and it just made me think of like some places I went before when I lived in Austin that were like half an hour out of the city in kind of like the relatively like rural area, as much as you can get that before you go into the real rural area where it's like a sundown town. It's like the one step before that. But anyway, it was a really nice building, a really nice spot, and it reminded me of somewhere that would fit almost anywhere. And that kind of is cool to be able to see and have that that like list of criteria to hold it up against and be like, this is what would do well in like a large city, in a bigger urban area, in a larger market, and see that it is still somewhat here in this area. That's kind of fun to see, and it clearly like there's money and care put into it.
I genuinely love that though. I think that's such a like, and I think
the beer was good too.
I think that's it. It's the money and care, right? Like,
and the food was pretty good. I didn't get a lot because I had already eaten breakfast, and they only had like I ate breakfast at like 7. Went to this place at like 11, and it's like they only had brunch, so it was largely breakfast. And I was like, wow. I was like, I just already ate like I made like a full like hash this morning with like toast, and it was like. I was like, I already had breakfast, so I didn't, like, everyone I was with was getting food, so I was like, I don't want to be rude, I'll just get, like, some a la carte, like, eggs and hash browns, and they had a homemade ketchup. And
I go back and forth on a house ketchup.
It was so good.
Okay.
Because it wasn't just ketchup, it was, like, clearly there was, like, some roasted tomato taste to it, and, like, a little garlic action going on, maybe even some red pepper. I don't know what all was going on in there, but it was a very fragrant, tasty ketchup.
So many people,
maybe the
when
best
they go
ketchup
to do
I've ever had.
So many people just try to make Heinz again.
Like,
and if you're making your own ketchup, do something weird with it. Have some fun.
And they did. It tasted like a pureed roasted veggie ketchup almost.
Yeah, I drink. I would not drink that.
might.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at their beer list, and I was about to say I'll drink the shit out of that. But I would really enjoy it.
Yeah, it was a good ketchup. I mean it when I say it may be the best ketchup I've ever had.
That's awesome though.
Which is like, again, the bar's not that high because most ketchup is pretty samey, and even house ketchup is oftentimes just almost the same.
Yeah.
But it was a real good ketchup, which is a really strange thing to say. To like come out, like go to a brewery and be like, the ketchup was really
the
outstanding.
ketchup. Let me listen. The food,
But I've never
ketchup,
been so surprised
amazing.
by it, because the first time I got a couple of the hash browns together, dipped in the ketchup a little bit, a reasonable amount. Took a bite and I was like, holy cow, that ketchup's good.
That is a tasty ketchup.
Yeah, it was a nice ketchup.
That sounds like a delight, to be honest.
Yeah, I
What
like a good
delightful
house made
surprise.
sauce, and I feel like a house ketchup is not common.
No, definitely not. I think I've only had it like once or twice in my entire
Have you
life.
guys ever have you guys tried those Heinz fusion things at all?
Is
That's
that
the
like
ones that's
the?
like ketchup and mayo?
Yep.
Fuck those.
Yeah, I'm not trying those. I'll make my own. Thanks.
I will say, try the ketchili. It's a sweet chili
I
ketchup,
was gonna say, is that the?
and it's just a
Yeah.
better ketchup.
Okay. You know what? I can get behind. 'Cause-
Yeah, it's just
all right.
ketchup with some sweet chili sauce in it, and it's just a better version of ketchup.
I see it. I see it.
Like anywhere I would eat ketchup, I literally would just buy the ketchili and I'll just eat that instead of ketchup whenever I would eat ketchup.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This actually looks like really, really pleasant.
It's very pleasant, good. The sweet chili part is not overwhelming. The ketchup part is not overwhelming. It just kind of works. It's just like a ketchup with a little spice to it. And ketchup's already sweet, so it's not like it's sweet ketchup. It's already sweet. But it just has like it's a ketchup with a little spice to it and a little tang to it. And it's very nice. I would recommend the ketchili. And then you also get to say ketchili, like
I
Lightning
do kind of
McQueen.
hate. I was gonna say I do kind of hate ketchili. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, are you guys familiar with? I don't even want to say it, but what the one guy in Cars
Yes.
says?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
yes.
No one told me about that until like 6 months ago.
Well, you
And I
didn't-
found out
you
for the-
didn't know?
No, I wasn't a Cars kid. I have swag.
You never saw. Oh my god, dude. Yeah. No.
Oh yeah, no. Chick Hicks just goes up and it
says that.
doesn't feel like you should say it out loud,
He
right?
can't
Like there's
say
something
that.
about it.
I know. I only know this because a friend of mine said it, and I was like, "What the hell? What did you just say?" And they were like, "Oh, from Cars, he says that." And I'm like, "The
does
hell he
what?
does? He says ka-chow." Turns out,
No, the
They had
bad
a guy
car
in
says.
Cars saying almost the N-word.
Yeah. No. It's wild. It's wild. It's one of those things that I realized. I didn't realize as a child because obviously I was a child, but like I got to an age and I'm like, oh, this is deeply uncomfy actually.
Good old Chick Thunder Hicks.
Yeah, I cannot
Best
believe he
character in
said
the
that.
movie.
I do have a bit of a soft spot for Chick Hicks. He's the worst.
Oh, he's my favorite. Easy.
I just
Oh
can't
my
believe
God.
he said that.
yeah.
I kind of can. Honestly,
No,
if
but
you-
like
if
no
you
one in the
thought-
process of making that movie was like, "Oh, that sounds a little bit like
How, buddy? They
the
didn't have. They
N-word."
they didn't have.
It's so great. When did Cars come out? Like what? Half a second.
2000. Wait, let me guess. 2007.
I think it's 2004 actually, or 2002.
All right, Jackson. What was you said 7? What were you gonna say before that?
6.
Because that would have been right. It's 2006,
Fuck,
June 9th, 2006.
2006 seemed like the year that the Monsters Inc. came out, but it might have been later, or it might have actually been earlier. Monsters Inc. might have been 2004.
I was thinking Monsters Inc. was before that.
Monsters Inc. was 2001. Monsters Inc. was
Oh, wow.
November 2nd, 2001.
Crazy how well that movie holds up.
Yeah, no, that
Well, you
movie
know
held
why?
hype too, because I remember that movie being like a big thing when I was a kid, and I was not remembering being 4.
Like I watched so many behind the scenes videos for Monsters Inc. and just because I no concept of how old that movie is, how like its CG should have aged. Because the monsters look really good because they were literally like groundbreaking animation action going on.
Oh, I thought they were just incorporated.
Well, I mean, they were incorporated into this massive planning that made everything happen.
I mean, even like looking now, like the fur animation alone in that movie is.
I know nothing about that movie. I think I saw it
Hog
once
wild.
when I was maybe 5.
Wow.
That makes
That's
me
how I
really
feel
sad.
about. Just a heads up, how I feel about pretty much every Disney movie is. I think I saw that once when I was like 5.
It makes me sad because I will say
No.
I do think that some Disney movies are worth seeing.
Yeah,
either
but not
again or as
anymore.
an adult.
Michael Keaton played Chick Hicks in Cars.
Michael
You know-
Keaton said the N-word.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
Okay, it was the
Almost.
car version. It is different.
he's a car. He's allowed to say.
Also,
it.
I personally, I really enjoy that it's a great example of an older guy just trying to adapt a younger guy's catchphrase into working for himself.
No, it's great.
And it
Chick
just
Hicks is a
doesn't
gift.
quite land because who gives a shit? He's just saying something goofy and everyone's going along with him because there's enough hype. God, I love it.
Cars is a good movie. That's what I'm saying. I think there are. I don't agree with you, Jackson. I actually think there are some Disney movies that are. Or
I didn't say there weren't any
Disney,
good
Pixar.
movies. I just said I'm not going
Pixar.
to watch them.
No, that's fair.
I think they're plenty good.
Yeah.
I just what they've done to the industry has not been.
Yeah. Yeah, fair.
So like, why go out and buy it now? I missed the boat.
So Jackson, you were talking about brewing a little bit ago before we just went full ka-chow pilled.
Yeah, I think I said everything I had to say.
So
did you have a observation?
Well,
from the
I'm
Watchtower?
looking at this, and on their website, the second tab says Mug Club. I'm like, what the hell is a Mug Club? And
I've been to places with mug clubs before.
I've never done.
And
I personally really enjoy the idea of it, while also knowing, due to a question I asked you earlier as to whether or not they were stupid expensive or not, for the area they are in. I know that this mug club is going to be expensive.
Likely.
And I love the idea of a mug club, but I also love that they have 2 tiers of mug club. Like, you want to be a cool guy mug club, or you want to be a broke bitch mug club? I can't say mug club, okay?
Holy shit, the VIP mug club is expensive. The regular mug club is actually pretty reasonable for what it is.
Wait, where are you seeing the prices? I can't find the price.
On the mug club application.
Oh my god, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, regular mug club, new member, $100. Renewing member, $85. VIP, $650 for a new member, and
what's the
$500 a
VIP?
year for the VIP renewal. Like, holy shit.
That is pricey as hell.
And the benefits contained therein. For the VIP,
you get
$20 gift card on your birthday, 10% off food and takeout beer on your Wednesday night mug club, a personalized mug. Your first fill is so your very first beer is free.
I'm sorry, that's some sorority
Every time you
fraternity
come
member type shit.
Yeah.
Every day you come
I'm part
in,
of
your
the
first
mug
beer
club.
is free. Honestly, if we're playing it that way,
And wait,
and
every
I
day
go
your
in
first beer is free?
every time you come in, your
Okay.
first fill is
That's-
free. They do say somewhere in here they reserve the right to upcharge for premium beers.
I think that's reasonable.
But flip side, if I pay $500 a year,
Mm-hmm.
that's a little over $1 a day, and if I come in at least
like 2 or 3 days,
two times a week, 3 times a
Yeah.
week, and get myself a $6 beer, I'm coming out ahead. If I
Yeah,
just
but
come
only
in,
if you're
get one
buying a
beer, and
$6
leave.
beer 3 times a week. You could also just be like, I'm not going to buy a $6 beer 3 times a week anyway. Why would I pay up front to do something I wasn't going to do?
That's true. Which is what I'm doing right now. In fact,
Precisely.
I'm out here planning ahead, not joining the mug club. I don't know. I like the idea of that, though. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun little thing to get involved in. It's one of those things where if one of the breweries that I actually went to did something like this, I might consider
Whoa,
it.
disrespect.
Well, hey, you know what? I'm not going to drive 35 minutes, 40 minutes away to go to this one.
That's true. It's pretty nice, though. We should probably go there like at some point in the summer or something.
I'd love to. Yeah, Dan,
worth going to.
if you happen to come up, I know, a lot of things are up in the air.
Yeah.
But
understatement.
Yeah, understatement of the century. Some things are happening constantly. One might say, Noah,
might
can you
even
put that up
say.
on the screen?
Many people are saying this.
At least one person. It's me. I'm one person who's saying things are constantly happening.
But
Actually, it was Miley Cyrus Eminem.
it was. I hate to say it, Dan, but it's true. It was Miley Cyrus Eminem.
I thought Maya Rudolph was the Eminem.
No, it's Miley Cyrus Eminem.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you don't know now, you know.
Damn, I've been confused this whole time.
No, Maya Rudolph Eminem for like 3 days because Tucker Carlson said too horny.
I honestly, listen, whatever corporate shill, I thought the way they handled that was very funny.
M&Ms are too horny. Okay, we put Maya Rudolph in charge. No! No!
Well, I was gonna say, I liked that, like, I thought it was really funny that the whole shtick was that Maya Rudolph is just terrible at running Eminem. Like, that's very funny to me.
I feel like, no offense to Maya Rudolph, but she probably would be.
She probably, I give it 50-50. I feel like she's a very smart woman.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be like in charge of M&Ms.
No. But I think that she would do a better job than I would, for sure.
I think I would crush it if I was in charge of M&Ms.
Honestly, I feel like
what
you
would
could
be
do
your
it.
I
first
would give her
act?
nipples.
Ah, hell yeah. Distant Tucker Carlson foaming at the mouth.
My first order.
My first act.
Give all of them. Just so
Jackson,
no one.
Jackson, are you sure? Did I stutter?
I think we have to do this.
Oh
All
my
right,
God,
so
that's
anyway,
pretty cursed.
I stand by it.
so
we
while
could get B to
I'm
do that.
I'm looking at where this brewery is. I'm gonna wildly change our topic.
Noah's so brewery pilled.
Have you ever looked at somewhere on the map and it suddenly put in context how far you drove for things at any point?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm having a whole moment registering where certain places where I used to drive relatively frequently, if we're being honest. Or like the drive I used to have to take home back when I lived in Corey, when I came into work in town. Like,
Yeah.
that sucked. What was I doing?
Your best.
I was doing everything I possibly could. It wasn't quite enough, but you know what?
That was one of those
It
things
was
where,
enough
like,
for me.
when I went out to Corey, every time I'd be like, man, never really been out here before. Because you just don't, like, you don't have any reason to go out there if you're not from there. And honestly, that's how this brewery, it's located in a small town that's kind of one of those places that I've been before, but maybe. Like, I don't remember going there. I remember going through there, and I think I visited someone who lives there. But, like, it's one of those places I've never been like, oh, let's go to this place here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how Corey's always been, too. Where it's like, I've never been like, oh, let's go to this place in Corey.
Oh my
I've
God.
never
I was
been like
driving
that for anywhere in
47
Corey.
minutes.
Yeah?
I feel like when you're younger, that time flies a lot differently.
No, I was driving 50 minutes the way I was driving in. My God.
No, commuting, honestly, is one of those things where it fucking blows.
Yes.
And it just shows the ways to which people who are less privileged have been pushed to pay in other ways. If you're poor, you pay in commuting.
Correct.
And you also pay in not getting paid that much. And you also pay in having to ask for extra services in order to get by that all require you to take up more of your time that is already being spent at least like an hour a day for tons of people driving. And they just put out a thing about super commuters. People
Oh my
who
God.
travel 90 minutes plus to work every day.
Shelly used to do that.
Yeah, and it's just like that.
It
There
was
is
nightmarish.
not a planet where I would do that.
We did it like for almost exactly 1 year because it was 11 months because she had gotten an unexpected job in New York City and we were living outside Philly and she was driving that every day, both ways.
Yeah. If you paid me
Insane.
like six figures, I suppose I'd do it. But like, I would move closer then. But like,
Yeah, that's what we did. As soon as our lease was up, we're like, time to go.
yeah, I mean, it's like, but a surprising number of people, like I think it was like 4.5 million Americans
Yeah.
are considered to be supercommuters. They commute 90 minutes a day. I used to have a coworker of mine that lived just over the Ohio border, and her husband drove to Cleveland every day. It's about an hour and a half each way. Every day, drove to Cleveland and back. That's like, if you were to make me drive an hour and a half Monday and Friday and then work, 8-9 hours and then drive back an hour and a half,
Crime. Straight to crime right away.
I just wouldn't do it unless you were paying me enough money that I could afford to only do it for a little while.
Yeah.
Or if you're paying me enough money that I could afford to do it like that, I would probably just move closer.
Well, I think that's the thing is that like I would simply not.
Yeah, and that's like, it's hard for me to fathom because any job that I can think of that I would be willing to do that much for would be paying me enough that I wouldn't have to do that much.
Yeah, 100%.
The only time it makes sense is, yeah, like you said, like if you just signed a lease and it's like, you have to pay thousands of dollars to get out of a lease early. And then you just have to pay thousands of dollars to get out of your lease early and then more money to sign a new lease.
Yeah.
So like, that's just, you're saving like $6,000 on a year by not doing that.
What do you call? One of the guys at work, our security guard, he used to work at the prison. And he was telling me about how he was bringing home like $50K a year at that. And he quit because instead of living near the prison, where it's actually not incredibly expensive to live, if he had just like with
Was it
all
the prison
the
out
money
where
he
I
was-
live?
Yes.
Oh my God. What are you fucking kidding me? You know how cheap it is to live here?
Yeah, that's
And I live
that's
10
what I'm
minutes from the
saying.
prison.
That's what I'm saying. This man would drive 45 minutes away every day, and he was working like rolling doubles. This man was overtime city. He ended up quitting because he got in a car wreck. He's just like, oh yeah, I stopped working there because, And I'm just like, dude, why would you not move out there? He's like, well, it's expensive. And I'm like,
That's not true.
not
That
as
is so not
expensive.
true.
He's like, sometimes I'd sleep in the parking lot and then just go back to work. And I'm like, why would you treat yourself like that when you could live out there? Because
It is
that's
incredibly
close
cheap.
to where his girlfriend lives too.
That's so fucked up.
And it's like,
Property taxes
dude.
are like, if you have a big piece of property, you're paying like $1,000 a year on property taxes max. Shit is not expensive out here. Just yeah, that's nonsense.
No, that's insanity.
Yeah, if you're making good money, and that would be making good money in a really cheap area to live, because if it's the prison in Albion, that's in Albion,
Yeah, exactly.
where things are like as cheap as they are in the county. Sure, it's kind of inconvenient to get anywhere. I'll give him that. I wouldn't want to, it's inconvenient compared to like living in Erie, but what? Like you have to drive to Erie and back to get home, so it's not that
you're
it's not like you
already-
hate driving to Erie.
You're
so you
already
can just
making the effort, yeah.
yeah, just drive home for 5 minutes, and then on days when you want to, drive into Erie.
Yeah. It's
That's weird.
hearing him tell this story, I literally could not understand if it was as good of a job as he said it was, if he was as well set up as he claimed. I could not understand actually quitting. I always assumed there was probably something more to it, like maybe he got fired. But
Yeah,
he's
who
actually
knows?
going back to work there, possibly. So, like, they clearly didn't fire him. Either that or they're just incredibly desperate.
It could be that.
Could be either or, yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of jobs I've had where like people who are completely inept and are fired based on whether it be like an egregious wrongdoing, consistent truancy, whatever it may be. I've worked with people who get fired for reasons that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty fair, and then they get rehired. Way more often than the people who get fired, I'm like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Those people usually are like, all right, fuck it, I'm out. When people get fired and they suck, so often they'll be back the next month, and you're like,
How?
why?
Who let you back in?
The owners.
I will never understand it, and it seems like it happens everywhere.
Well, that's just because there's like, owners don't and never really have had the actual power, and they know it as much as anyone else does. They just are lucky that people haven't grouped up and told them to fuck off, and people won't because they think that maybe they'll get to hold the power if they just suffer long enough. But you won't.
No.
Or maybe you will. And then congratulations, now you can make other people suffer. Do you feel good? Does that fix your problems? Maybe.
Man, that's
We sure do live in a society, huh?
something happening. Yeah. Man, it's one of the main things that I do not want to return to a management role for is when I was at Chick-fil-A, was such a grumpy fucking asshole, And I've grown a lot as a person since then.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, Dan.
I was doing a bit, and then
You
I'm like,
shut
no,
the fuck
you know
up.
what?
You shut
Back
the
when
fuck
Noah
up.
was 4'8".
Noah yelled at me on his stream last night. I don't want to hear it.
You
I
probably
was
had a
actually
comment.
off my stream, so unless you're
That-
talking
that's
about
true,
the
too.
beginning, which
I don't
doesn't
think
count
Noah's
because the
ever
connection was
been-
so bad it doesn't count.
I don't think there's ever been a time when Noah's been mad at someone and I've been like, whoa, Noah, that's unreasonable. It's always like, yeah, he's right.
I can't.
And maybe that's because I'm Noah's friend, or maybe that's just because Noah's always justified in being pissed off at people.
I give it.
Or
I give it-
maybe it's because I think it's funny when people are pissed off at people.
there is something very
You know what?
funny about
I'll
it.
give it an even like 30 on that. But yeah, I was a much less happy person at Chick-fil-A,
No,
and
you
I
weren't.
know
You
that
were
a lot of
miserable.
that is because I was like in my early 20s, 19 to 20, whatever the fuck I finally got out of there. And it sucked, It's a high stress job that was high stress for no reason because little people wanted big things to happen and they were making
Big things
me do
happening soon.
It. Yeah, big things happening, big things coming, big things coming.
Big things on the way, big things on the way.
And because of that, I was just so unhappy all the time. And I don't think that's going to happen again if I get any sort of like management responsibilities, because that is what I'm shooting for at work right now, because I want the promotions, because I want the healthcare that comes with it. I don't know if y'all knew,
That's-
but healthcare included in your job is pretty fucking nice. And no matter how often my coworker says, you could join the military, a couple of years
No.
and you're covered for the rest of your life.
No.
And this is the same man who tells me so many stories about he was deployed during like Afghanistan and Iraq.
Nah, that's gonna be a no from me, dog.
That would also be a no from me, dog. Thank you very much. Yeah, he was over there the whole time telling me about like all these very miserable things. And he's like, yeah, I got PTSD. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Of course he
60% disabled. Yeah,
Yeah,
blah,
of
blah, blah.
course
It's
he
like,
is.
just
Most people
running
who come
down the
back from the
list.
service have PTSD.
Yeah.
Most people who come back from service are disabled. And what we're doing is essentially going to a country like Afghanistan and being like, we have to retaliate. They attacked our base in Afghanistan. Yeah, of course they fucking did, dipshit. If you put a base in my house, I'd be like, get out of here. Yeah, duh. They're like, oh, we had retaliatory airstrikes in Syria. That's shut the fuck up. Oh, they attacked people who were in their country and have been for a long time when not at war.
And won't
Because we just
leave.
like building bases and we like building little Minecraft houses in other people's houses. And we can't do that shit forever.
I do like the mental image of that's what it is it's just like people
pretty
building
much
their
is.
Minecraft. No, that's what I'm saying. Like it's accurate.
No,
and
it's far
very
more
funny.
deadly than that and far less accurate than that. Because what we're doing isn't just building a Minecraft house to take up space. What we're doing is fucking with international relations in a way that we shouldn't because we want control over regions that we want to go to war with, but not war with the actual country itself. We want to just control the country itself and go to war with their neighbors so we can have missiles pointed at countries we don't like even more.
Pretty much.
And that's a little more toxic than building a Minecraft house. But anyway, the American geopolitical
You clearly you
war
clearly haven't been
machines.
on enough Minecraft servers.
I'm cool as hell on Minecraft servers. I just like to dig tunnels.
All right. What are we doing when are we playing Minecraft, you guys?
I like little worm tunnels.
Yeah.
Just like a couple blocks under the dirt so that people will like inevitably run into them.
And be like, the fuck is this?
This is a lost civilization.
Jackson's just a mole person.
I do love when stuff like that happens, though. You know, I'm just like on a shared Minecraft server, and suddenly I come across an intricate cave system that I just, oh wow, what's happening? And then at way down at one end, I see Dave actively digging it out, and it's like, Dave, what the fuck? And he's like, oh hey, it's the subway.
Yeah. I love digging it. I just like making the thing.
What is that joke that the children yearn for the mines?
It's
built a
Dave.
whole
Dave
ass,
is the
like-
children who yearns for the
I
mines.
built like a whole ass hide and seek castle. It's like made to like confuse and distract people so you can run around and get lost and then chase each other. And then there's like an underground dungeon section of it.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell
I like building
yeah.
things.
I do too.
You guys like Connects when you were a kid?
I
Oh
love
hell yeah,
Connects.
dude! I couldn't afford them, but I liked
I was
them.
never nearly as into Legos as I was into Connects. But I had these, speaking of not being able to afford them, I had these other things that I don't really know what they were or where they came from, but my uncle gave them to me because they were his kids and his kids were like older and they didn't play with them anymore. And it was like this tub of like kind of Connects.
Oh, the mega blocks of Connects.
No, they were like almost like more for like older kids than they were, you know, like when we were younger anyway. Lego was kind of for like the littler kids. Connects was a little bit older. They were like something a little bit more complicated. And I don't know what they were, and I've never been able to find them again. And I can't really describe them because they were plastic and you snapped them together like Connects, but they were largely rectangular and they were based off of like the primary shape being like different cubes and right angle. Like
Were they magnetic?
no, they weren't magnetic. They slotted in, but they also they slotted in. And they could create like a bit of a shell. Like they slid in one way, and so they slid out one way. So that means any impact or any kind of like pressure applied to take the things apart had to be in the way that they were snapped in. So if you push it down to connect the thing, you had to pull it up to get it to disconnect. Because you couldn't push it from the side, you couldn't push it down further, you couldn't push it from the other side, you had to pull up. So, and I don't know what they were called, and I wish I did, but they were like, I don't, and I've never been able to find them. I could never get like expansions. I didn't know what they were, but my uncle had given them to me from like probably the 80s or 90s from like his kids, and they were really cool. But they were
Really cool.
and I've never seen them again, never heard of them from another source. I have no idea what they were, but they were basically like hand-me-down Connects. They were like just like old Connects, but they built vehicles that were unbreakable.
That's very cool.
You could create like a tank that could like that was the one fun thing is like all the other kids at school. Like first of all, no one was ever taking my pieces when I brought them to school because no one else had them, and the vehicles it made were unbreakable.
You mentioning Unbreakable brought me back to like building shit out of Lego with the intent that it shatters into as many pieces as possible.
I love doing like a demolition derby with Legos and Connects and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to, and these things were just so much stronger. They were they were like
They were
cracked
simply
out.
better.
And when you're in like third grade, it was almost not even fun. Like I didn't even use them after a while because they just were kind of more of an issue than anything else because they were too good for the meta.
So
You
I had Kinects. I don't remember where we got them because it was definitely an out of the blue gift and we only ever got one set. I assume it was probably my grandma and it was like a roller coaster. Very fun.
Uh-huh. The
Had
roller
some
coaster
fun with
was
that.
like the classic.
But in searching for Kinects, I found Kinects makes guns now, like Nerf guns
Oh,
that
shit,
are
yeah, I'm looking at
mechanical crank weapons.
That's rad as hell.
This is the
I mean,
coolest shit I've ever seen.
Who didn't make guns with Legos and Kinects back in the day?
Yeah, but
Oh,
these
yeah.
ones actually shoot
These are
though, because
specifically
none of
for
mine
it, and they have
shot.
darts. Oh, we would shoot rubber bands out of them. We
Yeah,
had
you can
rubber band
definitely
guns.
set up rubber band shots with them.
I remember seeing like
This guy's got a
the
Gatling gun. Like you turn the
earliest
crank
era
and it's
of-
like.
yeah. I remember like in the earliest era of YouTube coming across different things that like a rubber band gun or in like catalogs, and I'm like, oh, look at this is so cool. But I had
No, it sounded like as a kid.
at I at no point had actually thought that like I could make one because I didn't want to take the time to figure it out.
No, I didn't believe in guns.
Actually, okay, really funny story. My grandma had two daughters, and she was from an all-girl family.
Okay.
So she didn't know anything of how to deal with boys.
Mm-hmm.
Had no concept of what we would like, what we want. And so as such, she gave us some like interesting stuff, but like she never wanted to give us the things we asked for because she's like, no, that's bad. They could become obsessed or whatever. And we were watching the James Bond movies. And
Classic.
she
Good,
talks
good,
to my
wholesome
mom.
Children's.
Exactly, right? Like, and she goes to my mom. She's like, I just don't think they should be watching those James Bond movies. I think they're just going to become obsessed with guns. And my mom
Badass.
turns to her and says, are you more afraid of them seeing a movie with guns in it than all the naked women? And
So good.
Yeah, but you're supposed to like naked women.
That's
so
kind of
true, so true.
Yeah,
Although by their same shitty logic, you're also supposed to like guns.
kind of.
Half the time. Not this specific instance, but like
There
by the
is-
same logic that is like kids shouldn't be exposed to violent media, usually the people that perpetrate that are also like, but we can't put anything in place about guns.
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that I don't even know if the naked women are a big problem in the James Bond movie. How naked are they?
There's some actual nudity, but there is not as much as people who don't watch the movies would think there is. But there is
Okay.
plenty of
Yeah, that makes sense.
scandalously clad women.
That much I assumed. I figured that much that like, a lot of different, beachside shots type of stuff.
Yeah, basically.
The horny police.
The horny police are on their way. I was gonna say,
No, this
do
is the
feel
gun
like-
police in this instance.
I do feel like there is something like I get it, being real into guns. I am
Mhm.
not, but I there is something very monkey brain about thing explode, and this is small thing that explode and has purpose, and I can just have one of those.
I think
Like,
the
I get
biggest
it.
thing about guns is realizing like actually how they work.
Yeah,
Because when you do, you realize pretty damn quick that guns aren't nearly as complicated as they want you to think.
no, guns are super fucking easy.
Mm-hmm.
Guns are guns are one of those things that like there's a reason you can 3D print them.
Yeah.
Now, they might not last too long that way, but like,
Eh,
you still
I-
can. Well,
You still can. It would still work. Is the
Mhm.
thing. At that point, you're really it's
because
really
the
just
bullet is the thing that does the thing.
Yeah,
you can't
the gun
3D print a
doesn't
bullet.
produce the energy.
yeah,
The gun produces the movement of a striking mechanism.
and the
The
direction.
bullet produces the energy.
I remember my dad telling me once about he was just like, don't be one of those dumb kids that puts a bullet in a vice grip and smacks it with a hammer to make it go off. Never had that thought cross my mind.
I'm sorry.
Never had that
those
thought
yeah,
dumb
you
cross
can
my
do
kids
mind.
that what?
I've never done it, but I was aware of it as a kid, but I was also told not to do it, so I didn't.
See,
I've
that's
never
also
heard of
why
that,
I
but that's
didn't.
very
but
funny.
that immediately I'm like, did you ever do that? And he's like, no, I got all my fingers.
Oh,
Yeah, because like you know what happens
yeah.
when a
That bullet goes
off?
somewhere, and it's not directed if it's not
Not
in
only
the
the
tube.
bullet goes somewhere,
The shell does too.
the bullet emits a lot of force.
Yeah.
And if you're holding on to it directly with your bare hands and some channel locks,
No, in like a you know what? Shit, dude.
vice
Yeah,
grips are
he
a
was-
handheld thing.
See,
Yeah.
when I was talking to him, he was gesturing at a bench mounted grip.
That would just shoot your wall.
It would.
Yeah.
It would. Yeah. But it would. God, you know
But it'd
what?
be
I
rad
hadn't
as
thought
hell,
that whole
dude.
thing through. That's even crazier than I would have ever thought of on my own.
I do like I feel like there are just a handful of things where it's like that same thing where like at certain restaurants you have there's a sign that's like very obvious warning, very obvious thing, and it's like, oh, someone was dumb or they just don't want to get sued or whatever, and you look and then like your parents tell you the most insane shit to not do, and you're like, I was gonna go back inside and play with my Legos, but now that you've mentioned it,
Yeah, but now
I
I've
was
thought
probably
about the
gonna
most
hit a
insane
bullet with a
idea of my
hammer if
life.
I'm being honest.
now that you've told me about the most crazy shit I could think of.
One time I shot a firework at my friend.
Oh, I've done that. Roman candles are really fun for that.
No, like a mortar.
I'm not gonna say that I've done that.
Yeah, we were like 10 on a four-wheeler.
Yeah, that'll do it. On a four-wheeler?
Wait, he wasn't on a four-wheeler. We were on a four-wheeler. It didn't hit him.
That sounds fun as hell. I would do that.
That sounds rad.
Did a little drive-by shooting with a mortar. And you know what's really funny? The person that I did it with, the person driving the four-wheeler, his dad actually lost an eye because of a bottle rocket as a kid.
And so
And I would like to say did not learn a lesson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and so you were like, I know
Because
what I
you know
must do.
who was not directly there and giving us the thumbs up, but you know who knew that we were up to some fuck shit? It was his dad who lost an eye to a bottle rocket and still said, yeah, you can have these fireworks and you can take the four-wheeler out.
I respect it. I respect it very much. Not saying it was wise, but it was
Yeah,
pretty
this
funny.
was a friend of mine that lived on a farm when I was a kid. We used to, like when I was a little kid, we used to just run around and do dumb shit.
Oh yeah, dude. Nothing. There's farm life allows for dumb fuckery in ways that
And
just
this is
isn't-
definitely like the redneck child in me.
Yeah.
But like parts of it are why I don't agree, but get on a level when old people are like, kids don't do anything fun these days. Like I get on a level what they kind of mean. And
Yeah,
I
of
don't think
course.
it's right and I don't agree with it. But like also they don't know the kids they're talking about. And they don't know that modern kids these days, I'll say it, they still doing fuck shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
And they're probably doing the same fuck shit. They're probably shooting bottle rockets and blowing each other's eyeballs out. Sure, I think that less of them are losing eyeballs because of it, and that's pretty good. But also, I don't doubt that they're doing it. No, people will be like, I heard of kids eating Tide Pods. No, they're not. No kids are eating Tide Pods. Maybe a few that didn't get the joke. But like,
One
you
kid
were
ate
the
one
joke,
Tide Pod
Grandma.
One time.
The Tide Pod thing was a joke at you, old people.
Yeah.
Like, you got. They were making fun of you. Duh.
Yeah, got
Clearly
got
they
in a
didn't eat
big
Tide
way.
Pods. This was like 19-year-olds saying this shit. You believe 19-year-olds are doing the Tide Pod challenge? No, they were making fun of your ass. But anyway.
And then you get the one, and then it's always the one dumb kid that's like,
Yeah. And that gives them so much reason to think that every kid was doing it. Anyway, they were shooting bottle rockets, and that's kind of based.
yeah, based in bottle pilled.
I like a good bottle rocket. Maybe I should buy some this year.
I do
Bottle
love a bottle
rockets?
rocket.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I shot off fireworks.
Okay, so here's a funny thing. Nina and I were talking about this a while ago because where we're at, some fireworks be going off, and
going off.
she's like, fireworks are such Republican shit, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking
Whoa,
about?
whoa, Nia, whoa!
That was literally my
Nina's
reaction
right.
too.
Nina's
like,
right, but wrong.
That's it, right? Because where Nina's
It's like
from,
beer.
in in Washington, it's definitely a Republican thing.
Yeah.
But like
Here
out
it is too.
It is here too, but there's also just enough country people out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not a full circle over here. It's just one of those, sometimes we blow things up because it's fun. You dig?
Yeah, because if
It's
you're
like a
like
potato
living
can.
in Washington in your country, odds are you're in Spokane and you're super racist.
Yeah.
And that's just the facts.
That's just the world
But
we
if you're
live in.
living out here in your country, you're just living out here. Mm-hmm. And it's also the way, it's the way that people in cities see people in rural areas. Yeah. It's kind of a
Right.
baseline Republican. And sure, they're not all like that, but like,
Sure.
it's, if you're living in like a large city, you probably are forgetting that it's still just about 50-50 most places. Sure, in some cities, if you get into certain districts, maybe it's 80-20, but large parts of the city is going to be maybe 70-30, probably 60-40, and then most parts in the world are 50-50, 60-40. If you get out where we're at, now you're looking at maybe 70-30. with a lot of people not being Republicans, but like shit, everyone likes fireworks out here. Bottle rocket's a bottle rocket.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, there's something monkey brain. Things blowing up is cool.
I'm not gonna, yeah, because like when she said that, it took me so off guard. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And but then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
I get it. I don't agree with it. I don't like it even, but I get it.
Right? That's literally where I was. I'm like, all right,
Fireworks
now.
were literally invented in China like forever ago, like thousands of years ago.
Yeah, they can't.
So it's part of human history. It's part of ancient human history.
Yeah.
Like these were like literally, I think the Chinese developed fireworks like 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that's a long ass time ago to have been like, hey, we got gunpowder. And it was a long time after that before we were like, now let's use it in the form of bullets.
I was just about to say, it is wild to me how long it took us to go from gunpowder being a known force to gunpowder can be used to blow people up.
Oh, it took like 10 days.
Well, yeah.
They did it right away.
Yeah,
but it just was very different.
In a,
trust me,
an efficient way.
In you know, they invented gunpowder in ancient China, and they made it pretty efficient pretty quick in the form of let's shoot it at people, but they also made it pretty fun.
Yeah, turns out things that are fun can sometimes be bad.
This sucks.
Yeah.
Big loss for all the meth users out there.
I mean, here's the thing, kinda, right? Like,
no. Okay.
Like,
yeah.
well, no,
but really,
you're
right.
Hold on. He who Adderall is just meth, but like, kinda.
I literally
like,
just saw a tweet from friend of the podcast, Rob, 5 minutes ago saying everyone who says Adderall and meth are almost the same has never tried meth.
I was literally about to say that like nothing makes me more angry than when people who don't know anything about chemistry will start talking about how there's just one molecule difference, because that's really important.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, if you drink H2O2, you fucking die.
Yeah, of course.
But if you drink H2O, you can't live without it.
Mm-hmm.
So like Adderall and meth are very chemically similar in some ways, but the effects on your body are not the same. And like it's a pretty huge difference.
I just think it's really funny that I literally just read that tweet.
Yes, correct. I won't lie to you. That probably is what made, because I responded in the one thread that Rob posted in about Star Wars.
Oh, so you've been seeing Rob again?
And so I've seen him on my timeline, and I'm like, I don't know this person. Please, Twitter, only show me the people that I ask.
That's why you need to go to the following page, not the For You page. Also, you were on the podcast episode with Rob. He's Little Milk's manager. You may remember him.
Is not bullying.
Rob doesn't listen to the podcast. You're fine. There's no way in hell.
Yeah, no way Rob listens to the podcast.
Personally, I absolutely love when I remember a thing about the podcast that Dan doesn't, because I also, much like my two hosts here, I do not remember much of what I say.
I would like to go on
show.
Public record saying I'm dumb as shit.
My short-term memory for things like this.
If I ever run for office, you can use that against me. We finished recording,
and if I haven't put in a title for the episode, fuck, man, I'm putting a title for the episode in literally at the same time that I'm actually uploading it right now. You know, like miserable action. Absolutely miserable. Hate it. Miserable. And 5 minutes after I finish editing, if I haven't finished the title and the write-up for the episode, Nina can attest. I'm sitting next to them on the couch, flipping through as I'm rendering out the video while we watch like The Simpsons or something, that I have to pause the episode, listen to like 3 or 4 points of it and be like, what should I name this? I don't remember anything, but I remember big sweeping things. I remember we talked about the federally unregulated GNC Mega Men with Rob, and that we talked about, what was he? Baltard, the biggest loser in the universe, that one alien from some weird show.
I think it was like a spin-off of He-Man that had more to do with like it was like a sci-fi He-Man spin-off.
A He-Man spin-off. Yeah. And like that kind of stuff, hilarious. Love it. I don't remember a single thing that was said outside of that. Couldn't tell you what we talked about last week. Yeah, well, no, I could. It's that Dan thought the Joker was literally chemically turning people into the Joker, and I would like to, Dan, I would like to extend an apology to you.
Yeah, what's that?
Because while I'm sitting here exclaiming, "What the fuck, Dan? What are you talking about?" with a big doofy smile on my face because it's the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life, it did not sound like that.
Yeah.
I sounded very,
No, it
very
didn't.
mad at you, dare I say,
You did.
which was
You sounded
not my
livid.
intention.
I thought you were having a fun time.
It's okay. We've been doing this shit long enough. I usually can tell that when
Usually,
Martin aren't actually
but not
pissed at me.
always, and that's what matters.
Usually.
I thought it was like listening back. I
Not
just
always,
remember
not
being like,
always.
"Oh, why is Dan so mad at me? Clearly, I'm not mad at him right now." Listening back, I'm like, "Ah, fuck!" I sounded like really pissed off.
Yeah, you came on. Listen, no, you and I do the same thing, which is we both respond with in our incredulous responses. We both come off extremely harsh sometimes. Not because in our, I think for you and I both,
I love
it's very
overreacting.
funny to kind of like
You can pry overreacting from
Yes,
my cold
correct.
dead hands.
Yeah, fighting with when somebody says, when somebody says something like, "Hey, remember in the Batman game when the Joker made people take the Joker pill and become evil?" It's really funny to be like, "Shut the fuck up, dude! I hate you."
yeah, exactly.
That's really
Exactly.
funny.
It is.
Like,
It is extremely funny.
It's
It is
really funny to be like,
It's
honestly,
cartoonishly wrong.
that is so
the actual
wrong.
dumbest thing you've ever said.
like, and I don't know where you thought that happened.
And honestly,
like I don't.
the even
did you, like, not
funnier
play the
bit
games?
is the week before.
It's just-
I'm talking about these video essays about the first 2 Arkham games, and I sent them to Dan, and Dan said, "So you know, I'm not gonna watch these anytime soon." I'm like, "Oh no, I understand." But it is so funny to me that in the moment of me handing him all the info about the plot of these games, like literally torn like line by line, and just like, here's the entire plot laid out in front of you, neat and tidy. And Dan's like, "So the Joker injects people with Joker sauce, and he turns them into the Joker. And my evidence is that there's people in Joker face paint in the combat trials in the Batcave."
And I remember being over here like, "Damn."
And I remember
that's
being over
crazy."
here like, "This is Dan. Have you ever played the fucking game in your life?" And Dan's like, "No."
See, and then I also remember being like, "Damn, that's crazy."
Listen,
Because the whole time I was like, "Oh, he's making people into Jokers with the Joker juice. That's kind of weird. That's crazy. That's happening." And Noah's like,
That's true, the
"Actually,
Batman
he
of the
never
time."
did that." I'm like, "Oh, he never did that. That's crazy. Dan thought he did that." And then you're like, "He actually had Joker disease and was dying." I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty crazy. He had Joker disease and was dying."
Whoa,
the whole
that's
time
pretty
I'm like,
crazy.
"Yeah, that's pretty." Oh. You guys are just going back and forth. I'm like, "Wow, really? Whoa." 'Cause I know nothing about the games. And I just believed all of you. I was like, all right. Guess he's
funny.
using Joker sauce. Oh, sorry. Guess he's not using Joker sauce.
what was I gonna say?
The fuck, apparently.
Oh god damn. Fuck. I don't remember. It's gone now. Listen. Sometimes. Oh, that's what I was like. A while back, when someone was talking about marketing on Twitter, you made a comment about off the air and how our like essentially our tagline, our like pitch is that we just speak with authority on things we know nothing about.
There is literally
And
nothing more that encapsulates it more than you with your full chest saying the weirdest part about the core plot of the Arkham games (parentheses I have never played) is that the Joker turns people chemically into the Joker.
Yeah, dude. Listen.
That's what makes it so unique and like so effective as a podcast. Is it's like a group of white men talking with authority about things they don't know about.
I know exactly,
And it's
Which
like
really
it's
has never
such a
been
breath
done.
of fresh air.
Yeah, no one's
Honestly,
ever
though,
done
my favorite part about what we do is that all 3 of us do come at this with a degree of authority about a decent like spread of things, right? Like,
yeah, we all have things we are relatively knowledgeable.
it's just that the overlap is next to 0. It's next to 0 in places that it really shouldn't be. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, it's
so
next
we're
to 0,
always-
but it's never actually 0.
We're always teaching each other about things that we really shouldn't be teaching anyone about.
yeah,
Correct.
And then sometimes
Sometimes that bites us. In
one
the
of
ass.
us will actually know. And so one of us will try and teach about something that we shouldn't be teaching about. And then someone else there is like, actually, what are you talking about? I actually know this one.
Actually, the fuck.
Turns out we can't make this one up, folks.
hey, Hey, we do our best to make it up, and sometimes it just doesn't fly, okay?
Listen. This is
Me
one of
just
the,
saying, I think that gunpowder was invented in China probably like 4,000 years ago.
I was gonna say, I don't think it was anywhere near that long ago. I wasn't gonna call you on it, but I could.
Are
Are
you
you sure it
good.
wasn't that long ago?
I'm
I
not-
think it might have been.
I don't think it was that
It
long
was,
ago.
it was pretty old. I'm pretty sure it was China.
It was China, I think. That sounds correct. Let's see. No, it was in the 9th century. It was
Okay,
like in
so
the
that's not,
900s.
that's like
That's like
1,200 years ago.
Yeah, 1,200 years ago, not 4,000, but still a long time. But you were right. It was China. Chinese monks, apparently.
Oh,
Actually, it says
I do-
14 or 142 AD is the earliest reference, possibly.
Let's see.
That's what Wikipedia
cool.
says.
Wikipedia says history
So,
of
like-
gunpowder. It was invented during the late Tang Dynasty, 9th century. While the earliest recorded chemical formula dates to the Song Dynasty of the 11th century. Noah.
Okay, well, my Wikipedia thing says gunpowder was invented in China
wrote about a
sometime
substance-
during the first millennium. In 142 during the Eastern Han Dynasty, when alchemist Wei Boyang, also known as the father of alchemy, wrote about a substance with gunpowder-like
we're talking about Wei
properties.
Boyang, the father of alchemy. You're gonna step to the father of alchemy right now, Dan?
It does say about a substance with gunpowder-like properties.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like,
it
so
was
at least
pre-gun-
1,000 years
pre-gunpowder.
ago, maybe 2,000 years ago, but not
Yeah,
3 or
proto-powder.
4,000 years ago.
No.
That was a little too like
Pre-powder.
that's a Bronze Age shit.
Yeah, back in the Bronze
I
Age,
think-
one guy had a flintlock pistol and was like, "Holy shit!
Oh, that would be
this,
so fucked.
This is game changing."
Here's the thing.
That's
no
what
one-
happened to the
here's
Bronze Age.
No, what happened is the guy had a flintlock pistol and accidentally blew himself up with it, and the technology died with him. Is what fucking
I
happened.
fully believe that, and I accept this as full OTA canon. If someone could update the Wikipedia to have an asterisk about this,
Oh, yeah. First couple motherfuckers that invented gunpowder did
Oh,
not talk about how they invented gunpowder.
No,
because they
no way.
died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
They blew their hand off, and then like their village doctor was like, "How the fuck did you do that?" And they're like, "I was mixing this shit together." And they're like, "Well, don't do that again, dickweed." And then they just never did it again because they blew their hand off last time. I didn't tell anybody what they did because they blew their hand off last time. So I'm willing to bet that like little pockets of people all over the planet probably created gunpowder once or twice before it stuck.
Yeah, 100%.
I bet there's probably some dude in like South America forever ago that's like fucking around with gunpowder, blew their hand up. Probably somebody in like Central Africa a couple thousand years ago. They were just hanging out, blew up their whole town, and they're like, "Well, don't
Can't
do
do
that
that
shit
again."
anymore, guys."
Hey, can't do that again. There's just a smoldering crater where they're like workshop.
we're just out here on
That's
like
like
the
a really-
assistant who finally, like down the
Yeah.
line, survived long enough to develop any sort of stable property. It's back when I used to watch a lot of cowboy movies. It just reminds me of the existence of nitroglycerin, where it's just like you see these guys just like riding along with a crate of nitroglycerin that if it shakes too much,
Yep.
it explodes.
Yep.
And then I find out I'm sitting here thinking, wow, crazy. I bet they kind of made this up though. Then I find out that that's what dynamite was for a while, was like nitroglycerin suspended in like clay, and that's why like it could get crusty and weird and suddenly so much more dangerous than dynamite already was. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I love like the history of shit like that. And I mean, if you look at like black powder, one of the main ingredients is like carbon in the form of charcoal. So like add something that primordial human civilizations had access to.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it was something that frequently happened, but that is, there's a higher than zero chance that at some point somebody accidentally invented gunpowder before anyone had any idea what gunpowder was or how to harness it.
Yeah, 100%.
But we like we'll never know and have no way of ever knowing. But that's pretty.
It's very funny to talk about, though.
When you think about stuff like the way that explosives are made and how it's sometimes not that complicated,
No.
it's interesting to see how like that might have shaped a mythological hero or folk character somewhere somehow.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure
Oh,
there's
yeah.
all sorts of like ancient myths and stuff that were in some part brought about by somebody who was fucking with things they shouldn't have been fucking around with and just didn't know yet.
Yeah, but I love that. I think there's something that about the mundane being magical and vice versa about that I really
I do
really
love
like.
that.
Like nothing brings me more joy than finding out, oh yeah, the reason that like people believed this crazy thing for a while because at the beginning of all of like whatever was going on, actual weird thing did happen, and they were just like, nope, this is it now.
Oh, yeah, I mean
We're
that's how like
adopting this.
eclipses are and shit. You know,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
like they'll be like, we went to go to battle and then a great eclipse happened, and so we didn't. I'd be like, fuck it, dude. I would have said the same
Yeah.
thing
Yeah, dude, are you?
because they
No,
didn't know they
100%.
didn't know an eclipse was gonna happen. They didn't know the whole planet was gonna go dark for 3 minutes at 2 p.m.
Yeah,
And if that happened to me and I was like an ancient Greek dude, I'd be like, yeah, that's
that's a god.
All right, let's call it
not,
off.
Yeah, we're not doing it today.
we're not supposed to do this. And then the other army would be like, yeah, you're probably right. And then you'd probably be like, all right, well, what do we got to do? Gods don't want us to fight.
Yeah, figure it out. I really like stuff like that. I think it's extremely interesting.
Although with things like astronomy, there is a little more certainty as to you can verify those claims a little bit more.
little
It's
bit, yeah.
still hard, but we see how eclipses take place, and we can somewhat create a timetable. It might go backwards. Easier said than
Assuming
done,
everything is actually like tracking properly.
Yeah, and also knowing how like time was recorded back then is always a little iffy. How do we know it was March 15th? How do we,
Oh my god, you just reminded me. Did you guys see? And I'm gonna look it up right now. That with the new telescope that we built, humanity, we fucked up our timeline on the Big Bang by like throw it out and do it all and start from scratch again.
Wait, what?
Like, yeah. I'm trying to remember what exactly telescope.
the
Big
Webb telescope
Bang,
maybe what's it
yeah,
called?
the yeah.
They
Webb
kind of like
telescope.
looked back and they saw galaxies forming in a way that could only be happening if our galaxy itself was like 11 billion years old.
Yeah, it's wild. It's
Like it would only make sense if the timeline was off by a good bit.
yeah, by
Which means instead of the world, a huge loss for young Earth creationists because
TBH,
turns
yeah.
out we were off, but in the other direction by a lot.
yeah.
Shit's just been around for a long ass time.
Actually, that literally only means that not only were they right the whole time, but it's in this
God works
state
in mysterious
because
ways.
God put it exactly like this.
I as a kid, that I feel like you hear that argument. At least I heard that
All the
argument
time.
a lot, right?
Dinosaur bones are the devil.
As a grown adult, I sit and I think, but why? Like,
I just had when I was at the brewery, actually had a long ass discussion with the people I was with about the flat Earth,
yeah, dude.
because we one of the people there was like, well, people actually believe it, like why? And then it's just funny to like talk through all the points of like someone who's like tangentially aware of flat earthers, but is like, so what do they think about the sun and the moon? And you're like, okay, well, they actually think it's a projection that goes below the firmament but above the atmosphere, and they think the air is thinner at high elevations because some atmosphere is less dense than other atmospheres, so it sinks to the bottom. And also, they think that the sun and the moon just have different paths, and the paths are variable and they're movable, and God's like moving the paths because otherwise the sun and the moon would just stay in the same place in the sky every day, and they would show different evidences of like, eclipses couldn't happen, and you couldn't get situations where the moon is changing its trajectory at a different pace and the sun is not, almost like one of them orbits us and we orbit the other one. But it can't be that, it's the firmament and they go up and down.
I gotta say, I feel like the so there's religious flat Earth, which is kind of cringe if I'm being honest.
I think that's most of it anymore.
I feel like the ones who are like government conspiracy flat Earth, 1,000 out of 10, funniest.
But the
shit I've
government
ever heard.
conspiracy people are the religious people.
I'm okay.
They're-
I feel
they're-
like there is the energy I've always gotten from my limited exposure to flat earthers outside of like documentaries, right? Is the government's trying to cover it up, and the government is actually like the reason that all this is the way it is, rather than it's God messing with the firmament.
No, they probably just don't talk about that part as much on terms of like media.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
the reality is most people who are flat earthers, it's like the government is trying to cover this up. Why? Because the Illuminati is trying to cover it up. Okay, why? Because it makes people think the Earth is older than it is. Okay, why? Because if the Earth is old, God is less significant. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it always comes back because your entire viewpoint hinges heavily on something that is completely indefensible and you can disprove in your own backyard. So you have to bring something else into it, and you can't just lean on government conspiracies forever. It has to be God. And if you can bring God into it now, you have this fallback of it is now. It doesn't matter if it makes sense.
It's God, yeah.
We got something else. And why are they doing this thing? It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's because Satan doesn't want you to believe in God. Well, now you've moved the goalpost to a point where, okay, you have a circular reasoning argument that's so deep and has drilled you so far into the core of this flat earth that you no longer are interfacing with any reality.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, because your argument is just, I don't know, God. Or, if you don't like it, I don't know, Satan.
Yeah.
So you've eliminated any ability to have reasonable thought or interfacing with the planet we live on, which you can do if you're a Christian, but you can't do if you're that type of goddamn idiot who's a flat earther.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the flat earthers end up in Christianity because it is a conduit through which they can be allowed to stop interfacing with
Not
reality.
all, but not a circle, but definitely some overlap.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there still are flat earthers that aren't don't have it into some kind of
But they're the ones that
Christianity.
are hyper anti-Semitic.
Well, and those ones, they're hyper anti-Semitic, and a lot of those, they'll eventually get pushed into Christianity. And not because the Christianity is trying to recruit them. I mean, Christianity is trying to recruit people all the time. That's kind of the point. But, it's not because they are, appealing to Christianity. It's just because, well, half their flat earth friends probably already are. And once they get into a shitty argument to the point with someone who's not a flat earther and is looking at the empirical evidence and has a conversation with them that's like, hey, how come you can't defend any of your points? Well, now they're getting pushed towards well, that guy over there never has to defend his points because he just says God. And then they jump on board.
Hey, can't blame them that much. You can.
No, you can. They could just
clear, you
interface
can.
with reality instead.
I would like to not interfere.
Because the craziest thing to me about flat earthers is the International Space Station.
You mean the thing that we can see?
Because they believe in it. They believe in it,
How?
though. Well, it's more of a projection.
God.
It's more of a hologram. It's a fake thing that's moved around in the sky above us to help us fall for their myth. Why would they have sent it up there? They didn't have to put it up there. They could have just been like, there is no space station. We never had one.
I miss the era that I feel like I've now firmly left. Like I feel maybe not just, maybe it's like a societal thing, but I know I for sure firmly can't find it anymore. Of insane government conspiracy theories that are fun instead of just endlessly being doused in
Yeah, and I mean it's
horrifically offensive.
Well,
rhetoric.
honestly,
it's because of the point that conspiracy theories existed for in the first
I
place.
was going to say, yeah, they all kind of came back here. It's the conspiracies you can still get into are like cryptid conspiracies, and even those definitely start to step on a lot of toes because they stop caring about where the stories came from, and they're just like, actually, I just want to talk about what I want to talk about.
Mothman is the cutest. He's my husbando.
And yeah, and
Okay.
you end up losing the path pretty hard on that. But anything that involves the government always goes back to the Zionist lizard people who are running the entire universe.
Makes me sad. I just want to hop on board with lizard people without having the Zionist part of it.
It's almost like a pyramid scheme,
But-
except
well,
it's
it's
the
because the
trickle down
lizard people-
economics of conspiracy
Yeah.
theories.
Because why? I mean, I get that you want to hop on the lizard people thing because it's funny,
It's
but
so
the problem
funny.
is that it was not a joke.
And
And I'm not saying that you're wrong to think it's funny. I agree, it's very funny, and I also thought it was funny when it was more out there, and I also was haha, reading up on it, laughing at it.
Yeah,
But the problem
exactly.
is that it was never a joke, and so these
Yeah.
people to which it was never a joke found a community that's like, yeah, we don't think it's a joke, man. The lizard people are taking over.
yeah, you're right.
Also, have you heard about the Jews? And then
Yeah,
you get the
exactly.
problem.
That's
Because
what-
now you've got these people who are already believing insane shit. And they're being made fun of by society at large, and
As they
kind of
should-
rightfully
as- I was gonna
so.
say, as they should
But the
be.
people that aren't making fun of them, the people are like, maybe you're right, the lizards are in charge. And they're Jewish. And then you're like, well,
Yeah.
it's because those people who are actually dangerous in the shadows are like, hold up, crazy people with a platform?
Yeah. No, you're right. It just makes you sad. It just makes you
It
sad.
is sad.
I miss,
Same with Flat
I'm-
Earth. Flat Earth doesn't have to be something that stems into anti-Semitism. It doesn't have to be something that goes into religious zealotry.
It just ends up that way.
It just does, because when you can't defend any of your points and you live in a country where people have and should have freedom of religion, they start to cling to religion as a means of using freedom to justify irrational and indefensible points.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately the people who are also using religion to justify indefensible and illogical points are there, and they're like, I'm right there with you, man. They tell me I can't hate people for the way they were born.
I feel like it's one of the few times where I do wish there was like for the most part I've always hated the phrase like ignorance is bliss, but I feel like this is one of those stories where I'm like, damn it, I almost wish I didn't know about the undertones and could just go back to liking the ridiculousness.
It's also really worth noting that like there aren't that many of these people.
No. And to be clear, like you can still laugh at whatever you want and like enjoy.
Yeah, you couldn't fill like SoFi Arena.
Yeah,
you couldn't fill it with the flat earthers.
No.
You might be able to get it to a nice attendance. You might get a lot of people in there, but it's one of those where you take everybody that believes in it. It really isn't that many. Yep. It's annoying and it's loud and it's a spectacle. That's what it is. It's funny, and there's more people laughing at it than believing in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's one of those things where it's really easy to get in your own head and be like, oh, the planet is fucked. Life is shit. These people are dumb as hell. Yeah, they are, but there's not that many of them. Yeah, you went to high school with some of them. You know who they are. Bottom 10 in the class, and they were mean about it.
Yeah, I was just saying, at the end of the day, like as long as you continue to say, hey, this is an insane thing you're doing, and continue to make sure that it doesn't become a I guess socially acceptable thing.
Yeah, it's sad when it turns into hatred. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's harmless and fun when it's just somebody who's like, I think there's actually secretly giants in the Rocky Mountains that are buried there by much stone that they were encased with when they were destroyed by God. You're like, oh man, that's crazy.
That's
cool.
Wild. Tell me more.
You're like, that's insane, dog, but all right. And then there's a huge difference between that and then the people who are like, and you're like, no.
Yeah. No. Hold on, go back.
No need for that. No need for the and. You got me. I was on board. I said, wow, Rocky Mountain Giants, that's crazy. And then you're like, yeah. By the way, the type of people I hate most is...
No!
You're like, we never had to do that.
Didn't have to do it like that.
It's like I don't even know where the bit's from, but they're like, oh, it's the Parks and Rec bit where the person's at the meeting, they're like, the kind of person I mean is...
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, I don't want to have to say it. And you're like, well, you don't have to say it. And they're like, but the type of person is... And you're like, well, no, you don't have to say it. You don't have to say anymore. And they're like, well, what I mean to say is the people I don't like. Like, we're giving you every opportunity possible to not say it.
Actually,
don't do it.
Makes you sad. People make me sad.
Not all of them, though. And that's the important thing. Is focus on the ones that don't make you sad. Don't focus on the ones that do, because there'll always be ones that do. But they'll never outnumber the ones that make you happy, as long as you're looking in the right places.
No, I would actually go so far as to say that they definitely do. Just ignore those ones.
There's so many people out there that would make you way happier than you think.
That's fair.
And also, you don't know any of these people, so they're not really out there to you.
That's true. That I think is the core. That's the listen.
That's like I have a friend of mine that I'll talk to about shows that I like Love Is Blind, which season 4 just came out. We'll talk about that probably next week, or 90 Day Fiance, and they'll be like, I just can't watch these people. It's too sad to see people that are this dumb, this shallow, this pathetic or whatever. And then I'm just like, yeah, but they're not real. Yeah. And he's like, no, they are real. These are real people who are being filmed. And I'm like, yes, and I get that. They are. But they're not real to me. Yeah. And they're not interacting with me. They're not changing my life beyond this. And they're getting paid to be on this thing that they volunteered to do. Yeah. I enjoy it as a spectacle that I can look in and out of. I don't follow the people on Instagram. I don't follow their lives after the show. I don't keep up with them in any capacity because that makes them more of a presence in my life. I like to watch them on TV and be like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that is the ideal circumstance.
And I think a lot of people are too willing to over empathize with reality TV actors and actresses because they aren't necessarily actors and actresses in a traditional sense, but you have to understand that they know part of a production. Filmed. Because there's far more that goes into it than just walking in the room with a camera. There's all sorts of papers that have to be signed. There's a schedule to follow. There's a production line. There's a time at which the wine shows up to be put in the glasses and the breakfast shows up to be filmed being eaten. All of these things, there is a process. And so it's yeah, they are real people who are living their lives and feeling these things, but they are also on a television series where they're saying, I never thought that you could love someone without thinking about the way they look. So, like, I'm willing to laugh at them. And I'm willing to be like, I suspend some amount of empathy from you. You are somewhat dehumanized to me. Not into a problematic degree and not too much. If I saw them in the street, I probably wouldn't say anything because they're probably annoyed by all the fans that say things. But, you know, I would always wish them the best. Mm-hmm. But when I'm watching the program, I'm not like, wow, this is the worst thing possible for this person. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe they went on the show where people get engaged after 4 days and then go on an island and get cheated on half the time. And I can't believe they got cheated on. I'd be like, oh yeah, suppose they did. Season 4, shit. You didn't know? What'd you think? You thought it was an experiment? It's season 4. If it was an experiment, they would have concluded it at this point. Or at least done it in a way that wasn't televised. It's not an experiment. It's a program. Mm-hmm. It's a television series.
Yeah.
You are the product, my fellow man, and that is all right. But I will be suspending a little bit of my human empathy for you.
Yeah.
For the sake of the production.
For the sake of yourself, really.
But I don't think it doesn't mean that I feel nothing for these people. Obviously, I feel for them. That's the point of watching the show. You watch the show because it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And I get so heated. It's like one of my favorite shows. Like Mari and I usually watch together when it comes out. Love is Blind, and I'll just get so heated. It's like I feel about 90 Day Fiance, Love is Blind, 1,000-Pound Sisters. I feel about these reality TV shows the way that like dads feel about the Dallas Cowboys. Like I will yell at them. Like I will yell at them on the TV and be like, "What are you doing?" Like I'm a dad yelling at the Cowboys. Like I'm a guy who's mad at Dak Prescott. Like that's how I feel about the 1,000-Pound Sisters. I'd be sitting there yelling at Tammy and Amy.
Hell yeah.
And it's really funny to me because it's just how I like to watch the shows. I like to, you know, critique the things that people do on them because it's billed as reality.
Yeah.
But Love is Blind is one that just makes me sad because there's a lot of people who will meet someone without seeing them, right? Like, can you imagine talking to someone you've never seen before?
No.
Yeah, sounds crazy. And then can you imagine doing that? And then you wouldn't know if you wanted to fuck them a lot or if you had to feel for them based on the way that they presented themselves to you vocally through a wall. Can you imagine you had to do that?
No, sounds fake.
Yeah.
It's almost like the first 6 months I ever learned I knew anything about Dan at all or something.
That's true, actually.
And the whole time you knew you wanted to fuck him.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, listen.
It's so apparent. The listeners.
Mutual.
Yeah, the shippers know.
Yeah.
But like,
do we we don't. We can't,
no,
right?
of course not.
Oh my God, thank God.
Dan, you and I are both married. Jackson's in a committed relationship. All of us are definitely not compatible in that way. I'm going to be brave and say it.
I think that that doesn't stop shippers.
That's true.
It doesn't, but our audience isn't that way.
I was gonna say,
if anyone listens to Dan and I talk and then would be like, wow, a lot of tension there. I wonder if they want to date.
Yes.
You're living in a different planet than me.
The answer is yes.
Oh, I hate to break it to you. So I don't know if I feel the same way.
Damn it. That's okay.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I can't believe this would ever happen.
I've got a girlfriend.
I mean, you know, this is in my little interview corner. I just thought that there was really something going on there. It's really sad to see two friends end up like this.
This is why Dan didn't follow Mari back on Instagram.
Did Mari follow me on Instagram?
She did, and she said
she said,
you know, Dan, I followed him on Instagram a couple days ago. He didn't follow me back.
Can you tell
no.
Mari that it's because I don't.
Your ship is sunk.
Damn, I'm wrecked.
It's over for you.
It's over. GG's.
You had your shot, and you blew it. And now everyone knows that you didn't follow Mari back because you were secretly into me the whole time.
I mean, that is true. I
Exactly
saw Mari's competition.
The secret is out.